Are we going to see a similar comp to what we saw back out of AHQ earlier on today, or are we going to see a little bit of change up, a different pace and style going up against what is considered a maybe stronger opponent?
Yeah, you even mentioned that global pressure of the ultimates, and it does still feel a little bit weird seeing the AHQ banner ban out a TF, because the TF, of course, back in the day, was Westall's signature champion, and yeah, we're still living in the past here, but hey, moving swiftly onwards to the present, you got a couple of more sensical, recent targeted bans.
Yeah, Syndra, obviously always a hotly contested pick when it comes to the mid lane, but if you were around earlier today, you just saw how decimating Uniboy can be on that Zoe, especially in the 1v1, as well as those 2v2s with the jungle pairing alongside Kongyu. Absolutely a monster. Bot lane, though, no ice, it seems, from AHQ, getting rid of the Braum as well as the Ashe.
Yeah, banning out the Zoe and the Syndra together does mean that LeBlanc does kind of shoot up in priority. The third member of that mid lane control mage pseudo assassin trifecta, really going to be important to secure here for either side.
But look at this though, AHQ, instead of putting priority in what we saw toward the mid lane in our very first matchup, opting to go ahead and lock in the volley bear.
Yeah, a little bit of flexibility between top and jungle here. Not the most spectacular of win rates, but teams have started to learn him. What I'm curious to see is if Berjaya just lock Ezreal to take it away, because hey, Ashe is banned, may as well get that second highest prior for you. And I sincerely hope this is not what we think it is.
Is it going to be the Trundle? I think it might be for Enzo. You also have to note the fact the Aphelios is still open for AHQ, so they could always just fall back to that. Wako loves playing the champion to death, and we have seen Berjaya, when they go with something like a Trundle, they don't have a whole lot of range to work with.
No, definitely do agree with that one, of course. With Berjaya, yeah, they default to this Trundle. They default to some of these more melee-centric comps. And I think that this is where we're going to see a little bit of a struggle from Berjaya. Because we mentioned AHQ, they don't draft particularly complex compositions. They just go for the 5v5, and they will thrive there. They will just smack you left and right with a comp that just easily executes on a hard engage, on a pick, on perhaps a Thresh in the support role to really facilitate this Aphelios volleyback combo. Just really expecting AHQ to be fully in their comfort zone if Berjaya continue to draft this way.
And also now Uniboy can go in something a little bit more utility to try and prevent Wako from going down immediately into the fight. Pair that even with a volley bear engage, and this Galio can be devastating.
Yeah, really intriguing that Berjaya banned out carry mids against a team that has just had their mid laner default to more of a supportive position. Granted, Ziv was on the on duty last time we saw him, and we did see Uniboy step up, but at the same time, Wako has been such a reliable, consistent teamfight carry for this team that I'm a little bit apprehensive as to how Berjaya are playing this one out, especially with this lock-in. That is not a champion in summer.
Yeah, right now Aatrox has been suffering across multiple regions. It's constantly kind of considered the troll pickup, especially when you look at the top lane pool. If, you know, unless this is a wacky pickup for Mauon that he's trying to bring up into the Galio, who knows? That did happen back in spring, but if it's for Ozzy, I feel like you have a lot more options still available to you.
Yeah, definitely does, you know, come hand in hand with the hopes the top lane will be left alone. As well as that, though, we mentioned that Enzo would like to play around his solo laners. Aatrox pretty non-interactive on both sides, and that's why I'm a little bit frightened for how Berjaya are going to play this one out. However, Opal, that is a Mordekaiser ban, so perhaps HQ is saying, look, actually, that might be Aatrox mid into the Galio.
That is something that Mauon has done before. I even think actually Minji is the one that actually played it himself, so maybe Mauon's been getting some of these, you know, pocket pickups from Minji during, you know, scrims, trying to get him a little bit more practice. That is still the possibility that this Aatrox goes mid, but look at the bans coming out from Berjaya. They know Ysera loves his heavy engage, and they're actually going to go ahead and take away that Nautilus and Thresh.
Alright, Nautilus, Thresh out of the picture. Let's just grab Blitzcrank on either side. I'd be happy to see it. We have enough supports banned out already. That is one that shouldn't have slipped through ban phase as long as it did. Karma, of course, flexible across 3 lanes right now. Top, mid, bot lane as support. And as well as that, just a beautiful pairing with the Ezreal. Pretty much perma-pushing, setting up for coordinated dives with the jungler. Granted, it is a Trundle, so there's like 0 damage on that bot lane, but really obnoxious to deal with and really obnoxious to gank.
Look at this, though. A bit of a switch out coming out from the side of AHQ. Kongya actually going to be the one rocking the Kindred, and that now likely means we're going to have Civ actually up in the Volibear in top lane, and we just might see a bunch of dives come out toward the top side of the map.
So I actually do like Volibear top a little bit more than Volibear jungle, just because Volibear jungle always has to go tank build. Volibear top can go Triforce Assassin-ish kind of build, tank build, or even this weird AP build that we've been seeing with the Proto Belt Rush against some of the more armor-heavy compositions that have been whacked out against it. Kind of sleeping on the fact Ysera got his signature Bard as well, by the way, and that will indeed be a Karma not in the support role, not going to, pair with the Ezreal in that oppressive bot lane, and instead, we see an engaged support for Delulu as well.
So something that he himself can try and make roams around, but tell me, honestly, when it comes to AHQ, what is your primary game plan for the first half of this game?
So for the first 20 minutes, you're just looking to rack up marks on the Kindred and a couple of items under the Aphelios' belt. There shouldn't be too much threat of an invade, shouldn't be too much threat of really any sort of contest around a Scuttle Crab or some of these more, deep in the enemy jungle marks, because you have the threat of a Galio to reinforce you. You have a threat of a Bard who can move around the map just like that. And honestly, AHQ, you're basically playing mid lane support, bot lane support between these two carries in the jungle and marksman roles.
So dual threat over on the side of AHQ, and for Berjaya Dragons, well, we were hoping to see Prio come out of that bot lane. Unfortunately, now it looks like it's going to be a little bit more skirmish focus when it comes to this Leona being locked in for Delulu. And I guess we want to see what Enzo is able to do on the Trundle. We're going to see a good Trundle game from him, or are we going to see him one of the bad ones? It's kind of a flip here and there. And it's also going to be a Karma in the top lane. So we are going to see Mauon go mid with the Aatrox. A little bit of a switch up coming out from Berjaya at the last second. But we're going to go ahead, load on into the Rift for Berjaya, looking to exit that soup you mentioned of all those teams tied at 5 wins. HQ looking to remain toward the top of the table with 11 if they're able to take home the victory today. And it looks like our dolly cam, a flat tire, Briz. It happens.
I cursed it, Opal.
I don't know.
Now that I'm here.
Maybe our operator's sleeping. Maybe he's over at the lunch table. It happens. If you've ever been on a set, dolly cam operators, they're kind of people of their own. They like to go do their own thing. They get to swing a camera around on a crane. They're a little bit of a weird group, I'll be honest.
Thank you for the insight. I'll give you some back, by the way. Spellbook Karma. A little bit of an interesting adaptation from RZ here.
That's a bit of a different one. It's already the fact that we have an Aatrox mid is already quite a different matchup from what we are expecting when it comes to summer. And I like, again, that's more of a Minji special. Mauon didn't really play the Aatrox a whole lot back in spring. And anytime they brought out any kind of those melee brawlers on the side of Berjaya, it was Minji. So it's interesting to see how Mauon's going to be now in that role.
Yeah, and looking at Mauon in particular as being the X factor for this Berjaya comp, because if the Aatrox doesn't get rolling, Ezreal's your only damage threat, and Ezreal doesn't do damage till he has 2-3 items, and honestly that does set a weird precedent for Berjaya, where you're having to see this unconventional Aatrox actually be pretty successful in this early game, otherwise you find yourself with just an Ezreal dealing underwhelming damage at almost every stage.
And the fact is, he's going up into a matchup like a Galio here from Uniboy, which is, as far as you go, is a pretty neutralizing matchup. It's going to be rare that we see an Aatrox, I guess, being able to just jump on in. But speaking of aggression, Enzo already looking to hunt down possibly this Kindred. Is that really a level 2 he wants to go for?
Actually, I believe this is the only part of the game where the Trundle can really pressure the Kindred. You're seeing that for once, the Aatrox has priority against the Galio, which should never ever happen past level 3 or so, and yet we're still seeing both junglers commit for this.
We'll see here, though. Uniboy does not want to leave lane as Mauon's over toward the side and fails the dash. That's not what you want to start off, but in comes that ground being put down by Enzo. Still the aggression. Uniboy over toward the side. Gotta be careful. They wanted to try and give that one over to Ozzy, it looks like, but nonetheless, Berjaya are able to secure the blue buff. But now Engage comes out from Ziv into the taunt from Uniboy onto 2 members. Winds of War, and that's your first blood going on over to the Galio, but still looking to hunt down Enzo here as Kongyu able to find the auto attacks. There there's another one going on over to AHQ. And there you are, not the start Berjaya we're looking for.
Yeah, Berjaya get the successful invade for the blue buff, but they get punished for it. Good rotations from the pushing solo lanes, but it's not enough to bridge the gap. Ziv on the flank, Ziv in the backline, and Ziv being the catalyst for this big cleanup and swing in favor of AHQ.
And pair that alongside Uniboy, who's able to find himself a two-man taunt. And, well, we said, you mentioned, Trundle is where Trundle at this point is kind of the only time he can actually try and maybe go toe-to-toe with the Kindred. Ends up not working out in their favor as HQ just bring more members to the party.
Yeah, not only that, but now you face the real possibility of having a Kindred getting some momentum under her Mark farming sails. Now just going to get another pickup on the Scuttle Crab. It's marked on the minimap you can see. Free real estate, easy money, however you want to look at it. The only redeeming factor of that play was that Karma was the player marked by Kongyue, so no pickup on that mark for the big snowball, but a still decent start for the jungler of AHQ.
Yeah, anytime a Kindred can pick up a kill, I think a Kindred's pretty happy, especially early on, and then hopefully, like you mentioned, they can try and materialize that into more marks, which you mentioned we're going to be checking in around that 20-minute mark to see how well the Kindred's doing.
Yeah, 4 marks at the 20-minute mark for a solid amount of range when it comes to navigating teamfights. Really the way to go for the Kindred. Speaking of range and navigating teamfights though, I like Ezreal into Aphelios just as a straight-up matchup, because you can poke the Aphelios down from a distance. You can harass him, and you can actually, kill him before he gets a chance to close back on you with his insane burst in close quarters.
You are, though, going up against Wako, which has been near unkillable on the Aphelios in most instances, especially in lane. It's very rare that we actually hear Wako Ysera take a fight before the 15-minute mark on the side of AHQ. They're very much, let's push in the wave as much as possible, get some turret plating, and then back off.
Yeah, I definitely do have to look at the spot lane as having a little bit of volatility. I don't think we'll see too much in terms of actual straight-up 2v2ing. Rather, watch for the Bard to be unlocked. Watch for him to coordinate engages with Kongyue and Uniboy.
Enzo. 3 mark is going to hit, as that's going to be now channeled by Uniboy. He was kind of hesitant to decide if he wanted to go for the play, but Delulu was already on the roam on that Leona ahead of Ysera, who's actually backing off here. And actually, first back going to come out from the AHQ bot lane could mean that Berjaya Dragons maybe try and look for a play either mid or just rotate down toward the Dragon.
Delulu? They have no vision of the Kindred. I guess they had spider sense tingling that, Kongyue was in the area after helping clear out mid, but not enough to really cement any sort of claim onto that kill. However, with the knowledge of a reset from the enemy bot lane, it means that we can now see a rotation for the Drake from Berjaya. Could be a little bit greedy, though.
Be an early dragon here by Berjaya, and be on track good. You want to see Enzo try and claim the map early, but you see Ysera not hesitating to just walk into melee range of the Ezreal. Some Mystic Shots, though, are maybe going to change his mind. 1,500 health. Dragon will reset. Meanwhile, Uniboy able to get some damage. Flash on forward from Wako. And there you go. The kill's going to land. And there is the explosive action finally coming back out of AHQ. It's a double kill for Kongyue on this Kindred. And it's the Dragon to AHQ.
Berjaya with the good setup, but unfortunately they hesitate just a little bit too much. It buys enough time for AHQ to collapse, and it buys enough time for the AHQ cleanup. This Drake goes into AHQ's pocket as well as the fight, and this is getting ridiculous at this point. Aphelios off to the best start he could hope for, Kindred racking up the marks, and Berjaya, the bot lane still hadn't recalled. The bot lane's doing nothing. The Ezreal's just chilling on the side, nothing in inventory. It's not a good look for Berjaya right now.
And all these fights, by the way, are happening before Galio even gets level 6, like you mentioned, where Uniboy can answer in these fights even quicker. So especially now, that's got to be in the back of the head of Berjaya as they now sit 2,000 gold behind AHQ before 10 minutes.
Yeah, and with that level 6 for the Galio, goes away all of that Trundle early game proactivity we were harping on about. The invade to really try and secure that blue buff, to try and secure that skirmish, 1 in a million. And honestly, the fact that didn't work out just doesn't bode well for the next couple of minutes, especially now, as you mentioned, heroic entrance in pocket for Uniboy and the rest of AHQ.
And it also feels like, too, we're going to be in a bit of a stalemate from this ball lane for K2, which now he's going to be on a call trying to farm that up. A tier as well. Not going to really see a decent damage spike from this Ezreal for probably the next 15 to 20 minutes.
Definitely do have to just rack up the tier stacks, rack up the Muramana. Honestly, just build towards Triforce. Hope that you get it before 20 minutes. And yeah, as we mentioned before, the Aatrox, single threat of this composition until the Ezreal comes online.
And in most cases, you want your Aatrox to get ahead, but now he's sitting in lane 0-2 up against Uniboy, who's now also just finished off his Proto Belt.
And I know that, you know, speaking of itemization, I know that playing Tank Karma into a comp that only has one AP threat feels good, but at the same time, again, just 0 damage besides this Aatrox, who is not doing so hot himself. Ezreal's still waiting for 2-3 items to actually contribute meaningfully. And honestly, we're looking at a Berjaya team comp that will just naturally get outscaled, naturally fall off, and already seems to be doing so.
And with that, now Kong is able to rotate all that pressure he's been able to build up, this lead for AHQ, and now they can maybe even snowball it if they're able to go ahead and take down this Ripchild and maybe get Ziv online.
Yeah, Ziv just rotating down here. Cool, he doesn't need priority to do so because, you know, you have this Galio with perma push in mid. The bot lanes aren't even going to rotate. Expect Wako and Ysera just to hold the Berjaya bot lane in lane. And that's enough to secure yet another neutral objective in favor of AHQ. They can funnel some gold onto Kongyue here as well, or a kill.
There you go. Ultimate's going to come out from Ziv, and there you go. An easy combo will come out as Kongi is able to hunt down an Ozzy. Fortunately, nowhere to run. Final auto attack will do it, and Kongi is a monster now. 4-0-1 on the Kindred.
Yeah, big fan of these Volibears that use the Q and then the R and then the flash to really chain a stun from an entire screen away. Sets up for Kongyue on the cleanup, and because they get that Karma knocked down, where's the Trundle? Not doing much, no contest on this tower first blood.
And you know, I would say I would give some flack over to Kongyue as he actually hasn't been able to get many marks himself, only 2, but the fact now that it's a 4,000 gold lead in favor of HQ, and he's got 4 kills. I think it makes up for the fact he isn't marking them, and he's just killing them immediately.
Yeah, who needs marks when you have all the gold in the world? This Herald play was pretty solid. It opens up the top lane, frees up Ziv to, you know, join the team for the next Drake, for the next Herald. And this is not a good look for the side of Berjaya. It just continues to get worse and worse for them. And again, you're hedging your bets on an Aatrox that tries to get into the mid game. You're banking on an Aatrox that can actually do something come the mid game alongside an Ezreal, and neither of those players seem to be stepping up right now.
And I'll be frank, too, outside of the first 5 minutes, we just haven't even seen Enzo. This has just been a complete dominating match so far by Kongyue, who's also been in all these side lanes, picking up all these kills, and is still 2 levels ahead of Enzo. Enzo, at the moment, hasn't been doing anything through the jungle.
In Enzo's defense, it's Trundle, but also a criticism, because we've seen how successful, or lack thereof, Berjaya have been with this Trundle pick, and yet they still opt into it first rotation time and time again. It's a trap pick, it's NA Jace, it's whatever you want to look at, just not a good option for Berjaya.
Yeah, you could go with other options possibly if you want something that's a little bit more skirmishy, but, you know, they decided, hey, we want to try and ban out some champions, and this has always been something about Enzo, where he can be continually exploited by his champ pool in that jungle.
Granted, I did like the use of the lane priority in the top and mid to really facilitate an early invade when he needed to do so, but here's Berjaya.
There you go. Maybe he heard me talking, but in comes that Galio ultimate trying to turn things around, and with Kongyue, they may be able to as he gets taunted on up. That's going to be another kill going on over to Uniboy, and even though they drop the Aphelios, unfortunately, they're going to lose more than just 1 member. It's going to be 2 as Delulu gets taken on down. Kongyue going to pick up a free stack for this Kindred as long as he finishes it off. There you go.
Yeah, pretty tidy 2-for-1 in favor of AHQ there. Good attempt by Berjaya to pull the trigger. As soon as they see that the Bard is rotating up mid, they say, look, let's go on the Aphelios. He's alone. Yes, he is cleansed, but we have Leona. And they take too long to kill Wako again. Heroic entrance comes through, the cleanup comes through, and AHQ, they get 2 kills back, plus a Drake to boot. It's not a good look for Berjaya. I've said that so many times this game, and it just rings true.
Yeah, because if anything, we kind of mentioned the game plan here from AHQ was, oh yeah, we're going to see this Galio try and come in. This is the first Galio ultimate that's actually been used here by Uniboy. The team's already up 5k gold. This is already just a beautiful early game, and in most cases, when you give 5 kills to a Kindred, you're pretty much calling GG in scrims. You're saying, let's just go next.
Yeah, only redeeming factor is that she hasn't got a mark for every kill, but it's still, you know, not the greatest sequence of events. Speaking of that Kindred, by the way, Execution is calling, Shred's Karma healing, Shred's Trundle healing, Shred's Aatrox healing, and suddenly none of this top side can stand in front of Kongyue's siege.
And it's also scary too when your only item completed so far on the map is this Iceborne Gauntlet, but it's on your Karma. It isn't even on your Ezreal here at this point, as that's going to be now the second tower being taken by AHQ.
Yeah, and speaking of that Gauntlet for the Ezreal in the future, again, we mentioned Uniboy, the only real AP threat on this team, so yeah, it will feel good, and you do get to create space.
Civ, on over the wall he goes, able to get the ultimate out, and actually dealing some decent damage onto Delulu. As Ozzy was pathing on over. I'm shocked Berjaya decided not to try and turn that, but maybe just concerned that Ysera could be nearby.
Yeah, pretty intriguing hard commit at the Wolf Camp. 14 minutes into the game, sure, no more turret plating, but hey, we live for it. Berjaya just trying to get a kill back wherever possible. Unfortunately, this Volibear, fairly hefty right now, fairly tanky, and again, we're just seeing the 0 damage comp, unsurprisingly, deals 0 damage.
And it gets concerning now, too, because you have this timer on the side of AHQ in the form of Mountain Soul, as they were already able to pick up the first 2 dragons of the game. This Aatrox, Malon, he's gone into the grab bag combo when he went to the shopkeeper, and he isn't even on his first completed item. The points of which Berjaya were supposed to be strong, like you mentioned earlier in Champ Select, that just hasn't come true, and we're starting to lose what any win condition they possibly had is now. There you go, Engage coming on out from Uniboy. There's going to be another kill on over to this Kindred, and this is just becoming an absolute slaughter.
Yeah, you spoke about losing win conditions on the side of Berjaya. This Ezreal being shut down really does hammer home that the Aatrox with the grab bag in his inventory is the only real damage threat. Decided to actually rush out the Vamp Scepter for that Death's Dance first item, rather than completing his Cleaver, and suddenly, again, 0 damage may as well be -1 damage, as AHQ can just freely push up this mid lane.
And that's now a total of 3 towers to 0, 6 kills onto the Kindred, and in 2 minutes, your second, first Mountain Drake. It's all coming together if you're an AHQ fan.
Yeah, AHQ unrelenting with their aggression. Again, as we said, promising invade from Berjaya early. The issue is, once they fall behind, not really able to influence the map at all as AHQ do run rampant. They secure a couple of Drakes, more than a couple of kills, and now the second Herald really going to go a long way to helping AHQ just crack open the map that little bit more.
And if you're a Berjaya fan of Brits, if you're on this team right now, like, sure, there's a miracle instance they may throw out a Baron or something, but if you had to take anything away from this game, what are you taking away?
Honestly, I think that we just look at the Trundle as being a trap pick, but I could have told you that after week 2, and yeah, genuinely not too much to have learned here, besides the fact that, cool, we got a good coordinated invade at level 2, just a little bit of a weird commitment for that. There's promise there, but at the same time, it just feels like Berjaya not really on the same page when it comes to cohesiveness and actually thinking about how to play through their draft.
Well, we have a little bit of a lull here. What options could Enzo actually maybe try and go for here? Because, like you mentioned, this Trundle has always been a trap for Berjaya, and we've only seen it pay off in a couple games out of the, I think, 9 now he has played.
He's a cannon minion, Opal.
I don't know. I think he's more of a melee minion, and he actually has, the club. All right.
Well, yeah, mild inconvenience from the Trundle at this point. Just gonna drop a pillar every now and again. Aegis in inventory, gonna build Zeke's, about all he can do right now. Yep. How are you gonna deal with this? Your wave clear is exclusively on Ezreal, who is nowhere to be found in the bot lane.
And arguably doesn't have all that much wave clear. to say the very least, when you compare it to the side here of AHQ that are easy to just knock down their 4th tower of the game. And it might be the trend tonight here of very quick stomps coming out from a lot of these squads.
And AHQ draft 2 melee solo laners plus 2 fairly short-ranged marksmen, and yet it feels like they can move up into melee range unafraid pretty consistently this game. Really, you know, just indicative of the fact that they are insanely ahead in terms of their lead right now.
And speaking of leads too, Kongyu is going to be able to now finish off this 3rd Mountain Drake. They've also been able to just claim the bot side of the jungle in their favor. That it's also allowed him to pick up his next mark, and now he sits at 5 marks before 20 minutes.
Yep, looking at that inventory in terms of the double cleaver from the AHQ top side right now, but hey, take a look over. You have that Death Stance, finally a single item complete for this Aatrox from Mawon. Issue is, it comes at a time where you have 2 items already on every carry on the side of AHQ, and this is not looking too hot. Another blue buff invade. How did this go for the last time you tried it, Enzo?
And there you go. Engage comes out from Ysera. Does not land the Tempered Fate, as that is going to be flashed away by Delulu. And there you go. Kong is just going to go ahead, pick up his blue buff, and whatever moments that Berjaya have been able to find in their favor are just dwindling away.
Yeah, Berjaya now just on the full defensive, trying to scale up, trying to claim farm where they can. And granted, they're doing okay in that regard. Every player, bar Enzo, has a CS lead on their counterpart. I'm, of course, ignoring supports, but yeah, they're small CS leads, but they're still leads. Issue is, not only are they hemorrhaging gold through towers, through kills, but also look at that Drake timer that you mentioned earlier. Now we're 1 step closer, and rather 1 step away from that soul, and suddenly AHQ just have a really clear win condition come the later stages of this game.
And you can even see they're like Berjaya are still acting as though they are even on gold. You saw Enzo was trying to chase down Wako, which I feel like Wako could have just turned around and said, you know what, you die here now, as Enzo isn't going to do a whole lot for himself. And we take a look at the gold ranking. You never want to see the enemy Kindred at the top of your leaderboard ahead of your AD carry by almost 2,000 gold.
Yeah, this Kindred is massive. The mark's not so insane, but the inventory is huge. Can chase down anyone, can collapse on this.
And there you go. Easy collapse, easy game. Kongyu is now godlike, 7-0-2.
9 out of 10 kill participations for this Kindred at the 20-minute mark. We need to check in, speaking of marks and 20 minutes, on those stacks for the Kindred. Needs a little bit more range to navigate some of these kookier team fights. Absolutely fine to continue on that trajectory, just really on the up and up. Kongyu so huge right now.
And that all comes down to AHQ now able to lay in vision so easily into Berjaya's jungle, which now Berjaya, honestly, if they want to try and step up to this Drake that's going to be coming up in 2.5 minutes, as long as AHQ are able to lay down vision, I doubt Enzo is going to be even able to be within the same proximity of the jungle of the river.
I think that has been the case since Galio ticked over to level 6, to be honest. So,
yeah.
Yeah. Got his Zeeks, though, so Trundle about as strong as he'll ever be. Honestly, from here on out, it's just Knight's Vow, a little bit of other tankiness. You're a Pink Ward and Pillar bot. And yeah, Berjaya, again, just on the stall game. You got Ezreal wave clear, cool, but who's going to deal with the side lanes?
Yeah, side lane pressure is starting to mount from AHQ as they look to try and, you know, spread apart Berjaya ahead of this mountain that's going to be spawning now in just over 90 seconds, which we kind of feel like that is going to be your nail in the coffin here. Once you give some extra shielding to Waku, who's already, you know, running about a 300, 400 health shield with the overheal, it's going to be so hard to even take down this Aphelios in the late game.
Yeah, not only that, but you saw they were already struggling to kill people without the Mountain Soul on top of that. This 0 damage comp that I keep memeing will just struggle further and further as this game does go on.
No, literally will do no damage. Like, Wako, I doubt his shield is going to break unless everything is used and he walks within melee range of an Aatrox, which we have seen from Wako does not happen, but let's see if Berjaya give him an option. As you saw, Enzo was just itching to pull the trigger onto that Aphelios, but an easy disengage as he walks straight down.
Uniboy
on the flank. Should be fine, though. Does have flash, but Mountain now spawning in 45.
Yeah, the only way this Ezreal could do even less damage would be if he went for the Death's Dance Third instead of the Blade of the Ruined King, which is, as you know, something that I absolutely despise when the Ezreal is the primary damage source of his team. Probably gonna see, oh, wait, the Vamp Scepter, it's a little bit of an up in the air kind of build here, because it could be Bilge Water into Blade, it could also just be Death's Dance. Time will tell. I like the Executioners to shred away Kongyue's healing, but do you have the luxury of building for utility at this point? Probably not.
No, not when, you know, Kong is just able to walk up to your Leona and get her down to about, like, 200 health off one auto attack, and even though you're able to get a little bit of damage onto Civ, it doesn't matter, and there you go. Dragon now spawned. Berjaya, do they have an answer? Do they have a miracle steal out of K2? I feel like that's the only hope.
Yeah, definitely do have to bank on that Ezreal ult coming through.
Too late. Was close, though. There was a missed smite coming out there from Kongya, as now Tempered Fate is going to be used by Ysera. Uniboy trying to get close enough, gets interrupted on his taunt by Enzo, but now let's see, continuing onto the fight. Solar Flare onto Ziv. Delulu wants that engage. In comes the Galio ultimate to try and get a little bit of damage secured, but not going to be enough. Here comes the taunt on through Kongya. He's going to go legendary. Malon's over toward the side. It's a split fight on either side. Doesn't matter. Wako is on the board now with the Aphelios, and there you go. 2 members fall from Berjaya as the second tier tower in mid is going to be taken by AHQ.
Kongyue zoning 3 people by himself, and I've just realized I don't think we've seen the Kindred needing to press R this entire game.
There's never been a single Kindred ultimate. Maybe until now. Caster Curse, is it real? We'll have to see. No, Kongya can easily just back off here with a Q. And even then, Berjaya have not been able to threaten Kongya this entire game to force a Kindred ult in 25 minutes.
Yeah, Lamb's Respite, that teamfight defining skill, it's a little bit of a weird situation you find yourself in, where you're winning fights regardless of that. And yeah, have to lend a lot of credit over to the AHQ engage potential. You see Ysera trying to salvage the missed Tempered Fate, just hard committing for this. Good attempted turnaround from Delulu, but unfortunately, when your carries aren't doing damage, who's going to follow up in your CC? Answer is absolutely no one, and the players that do try and follow just get shut out and knocked down.
And I kind of feel like here, there isn't a perfect team fight for Berjaya. I feel like the only perfect team fight for them is a Baron throw by AHQ, or them seriously disconnecting during a fight.
So what I'm looking at from Berjaya is the fact that they can kill this Kindred if everyone piles onto it and they CC her down before the Mikhail's cleanse can come through from Ysera, and before, of course, the R gets popped by Kongyue. Issue is that if you just focus down the Kindred, and if you pile onto the Kindred, because their comp is so low range besides Ezreal, you're just going to get mowed down by Aphelios or 4-man taunted by the Galio, even if you do drop Kongyue.
Yeah, that's been a consistent thing we've seen in the PCS, especially from teams that let the Aphelios go through, is we don't really see any answer when it comes to range, and that's kind of been what a lot of people have been saying, you know, is the answer to Aphelios when it comes into the late game. And Berjaya, this is a gutsy call trying to turn this around, but you have a global ultimate in the form of that Galio to turn the tides. In comes the taunt as well. Civ onto the back line. Calling is legendary once again. You know the play. You know the call. AHQ are dominating continually, taking down every member left behind of Berjaya as K2 and Enzo retreat to the base. Uniboy, though, not even going to give Trundle an opportunity to run into the knock-up onto K2. And there you go, mowing down the bodies of Berjaya Dragons.
Proactive engage from Berjaya, but they're unable to close, unable to find a single kill there. Ziv into the backline, everyone else into the front line, and AHQ just shred through Berjaya and shred through the Baron after getting that in mid lane.
And it comes down here to Berjaya feeling like they have the advantage, but there's absolutely no ward coverage onto the AHQ members.
Credit to Berjaya for trying, and also credit because his Ezreal is going Blade third. We love it, but a little bit too late, too little too late at this point. Just so far behind. 3 kills across the board for AHQ. Kindred, when she's in the Wolf's domain, does get, you know, 3 leaps every time. Even the failed leap into the wall from Kongyue is not enough to stop this onslaught from the side of AHQ. Quite a few failed dashes this game, but hey, it's we take it. AHQ especially take it, because 16-2, 4 Drakes, Baron, can't really argue with that one.
16 kills, a 16,000 gold lead right now with Mountain Soul, Baron, like you mentioned. And if they don't actually need this, by the way. They could end the game at any point, especially if Ozzy's going to get caught out in his jungle just like this. Taunt into a Wako, waiting. There you go. 17th kill for AHQ.
Yeah. 2 deaths away from a perfect game for the side of AHQ. Just really setting the tone for how one-sided this game has been.
Ysera's just playing with his food at this point. Tempered Fate just to catch out Enzo. This poor Trundle's only level 11. The Kindred's level 16. Let them go home. Let them go to the base. That's the first Kindred ultimate of this game. That's just how dominating AHQ have become over Berjaya Dragons, as that's another shutdown. Maoan, he's exhausted, and I bet he's pretty tired of this game at this point. Wako is just trying to kill members in the fountain. There you go, AHQ. They put in the nail into the coffin, put the coffin off a cliff, and seal the deal with 20 kills to 2 over Berjaya Dragons.
AHQ sheer decimation of Berjaya Dragons, the Dragon Slayers. They find their mark. Oh, well, actually, Kongyue finds like 10 marks by the end of that one. Really beautiful Kindred play coming out from the get-go. I like Berjaya making the plays, or rather attempting to. They didn't just roll over and die, but just complete masterclass. As we said, 2 deaths away from the perfect game for AHQ.
Yeah, and I think it sums up this game perfectly when we say the first Kindred ultimate wasn't used until Nexus Tower dives at 27 minutes. That's how little threat was thrown over to AHQ, and like you mentioned, outside of the 2 deaths, was a near perfect game over Berjaya Dragons, which unfortunately have just fallen from their position we saw back in spring and have yet to still recover.
Yeah, definitely do have to look at Berjaya's win streak ending here as being a little bit of a not wake-up call per se, but just a dampener on that hopeful comeback move. That being said, though, I was pleasantly surprised that they were still attempting to be proactive, for better or for worse. And really, just HQ, as we said, they draft easy-to-execute teamfight-centric comps and just roll through the game through that.
Oh my. Those are... I forget, this was a very quick game. There's another 29-minute game coming out here to start off Week 6, and damage numbers... Never really want to see your Aatrox only have 5,000 damage compared to your 6,000 damage Karma. Not really good case. Maoan was never really able to get ahead, and it truly did feel like this comp was kind of doomed from the start when it came to this draft.
Yeah, genuinely looking at that Ezreal as being the only, threat on this team. Really rough game, especially for the mid laner of Berjaya, but a really good game for the jungler of AHQ.
Oh yeah, I think you're happy any day of the week when you can have 11 in kills or assists. Well, it's going to be 17 overall when you combine the 2 with a perfect game coming out here from Kongyue. On the Kindred, outside of that 1 ultimate being used, was on fire the entire match and near unstoppable.
More than unstoppable, actually. I believe you'll find he's legendary, but yeah.
Legendary, I say near unstoppable. Well, no one actually killed him, so I guess he is unstoppable at this point. And speaking of Kongyue, we got ourselves an interview alongside Patty, so we're going to go ahead and throw it on over to the Queen feed.
好，那我们这里有几个问题想要来问空月。这个第一题的话是恭喜你们今天取得2胜，目前是占据排行榜第2名。目前你们有跟哪些队伍在进行约团练习？能否透露一下状况如何吗？
So congratulations on winning 2 games today. You guys are currently number 2 in the rankings. So can you maybe tell us a little bit about who you're playing scrims against at the moment?
通常都是 LDL 或是韩国刺激，就是少数跟 LPL 练，大概都是这些选手。
So most of the time it's LDL or Korea Pro teams, and not that often with LPL teams. So yeah, that's about it.
好，那第2题想要问的就是这场你的竞爪表现其实非常好，然后现在粉丝都会说你10点想要赶下班或是要抢麦克风的你是最强的，那你有没有什么话想要对粉丝说？
So your kindred in this game was really, really good. You performed really well. And because you're doing so well, a lot of fans online are making jokes about you online. So they're saying that you're trying to play fast and really good because you want to make it off work at 10 p.m. or that you're trying to steal away the microphone in the game because you like karaoke so much. So do you have anything you want to say to these fans?
没有啊，就其实都是正常打，没有什么敢唱歌，都没有这回事，就是正常打。
Actually, I just play normally, so this is nothing about me wanting to go to karaoke after work. I just play normally, so don't make those jokes about me.
OK， 那我们这里有最后一个问题，你们明天要对上的是上一轮击败你们的 Liab Esports， 那你们这一次有没有做好什么样的对策，或者有什么样的战术去面对他们吗？
So tomorrow you're going to be facing the Yab again, and you guys lost to them in the first round. So do you have any strategies planned ahead?
应该是就是照着平常自己打，因为上一次打他们是失误太多，然后他们就抓着我们的失误打，所以这就是失误尽量不要那么多，就会赢。
So I think we're just going to be playing normally. I think last time we lost because we made too many mistakes, and they caught those issues, and that's why we lost. So this time we're just going to play normally, and we think we're going to win.
OK， 那我们也恭喜空月，也恭喜 AHQ 在刚刚比赛获得胜利，也希望你们在接下来比赛可以再多加油。这个刚刚的采访也是看得出来，这个别再说他敢下。
I don't know who came up with the karaoke question, but I don't know. Kongi's having a very quick night himself. All of the teams so far are having a quick night. Is every single team, every single game has now been done in 30 minutes, and hey, he is going to have a quick night possibly.
Yeah, actually, speaking of quick games, next up, Alpha HKA, two very either hit or miss teams. They either win in 20 minutes or they lose in 20 minutes, so there's a lot of consistency in the inconsistencies between those two heavy hitters.
Well, we're going to go ahead and take a short break. When we come back, it's that matchup exactly. Alpha taking on Hong Kong Attitude.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.